So if there's one thing that I hate, they're called rule of thumbs. Now don't get me wrong, okay? Some rules are very important. People that are very smart created them, but at the end of the day, people create them, okay? Now, one rule I hate is this rule. People say, hey, never, ever, ever use a credit card. It is just a bad idea overall. Now, that idea is synonymous with Dave Ramsey, and I love Dave Ramsey, okay? That's my guy, okay? But overall, I don't like whenever people use, for example, these fatal final rules just to say never do something because it's never a good idea, but overall, that's not really true, right? So here's the thing, guys, okay? 99% of the time, I am using a debit card. 1% of the time, I might use a credit card for certain situations, but overall, there are 3 overall reasons why you might want to use a credit card instead of a debit card, okay? I'm gonna tell you the benefits. Yes, I'll talk cash back. Yes, I'll talk about benefits. And yes, I'll even talk about credit building, okay? And all these factors are important, but I'll tell you exactly why I don't use a credit card most of the time and why I use a debit card most of the time, but why every now and then I have to use a credit card for certain things. In this video, I'm going to break it down. But don't forget, the most important things are not these rules, it's called common sense. And when you have common sense and you're able to kind of look at decisions and situations and make a proper decision based on the information, that is the most important thing. So just having regular rules you kind of follow all the time, that's not the smartest thing to do whatsoever. Now, as always, guys, like this video on top of also subscribe and hit the bell to get notified. Now, the very first thing, guys, is cashback. That is one of the biggest reasons why people love to use credit cards. Now, overall, I get it. Tommy, if I'm gonna spend money on something anyways, why not get back 1% cash back or 3% cash back or 5% cash back, whether I'm at a gas station, whether I'm buying at Costco, whether I'm dining, whether I'm traveling, it's just money left on the table. Now, I've done the math, I've done the research, and this does not interest me. And here's why. Research shows that on average, people spend 18% more than they would if they have a credit card. That's the idea. So whenever you use credit, usually you spend 18% more on average. Now, if interest rates are like 18 to 25 to 30% on a credit card, obviously they offer you cash back because the average person is not gonna pay back on time and they're gonna charge them interest. Now, the average person also, guess what, does not think they're average. So whenever people are spending money like crazy, they say, hey, no, I know what I'm spending money on. You ask them a month later, I don't remember, okay? That's normal. So what I do is, when it comes to cashback, I really don't care. I don't care about getting 80 bucks a month, a year, because I don't spend that much money at all. But like 80 bucks a year or $100 a year, I just don't care for it. And I don't really want to run the risk of overspending and so on. But I do spend money to get cash back in certain situations. Now hear me out here. Let's say I know for a fact, hey, it's Black Friday, it's Cyber Monday, it's, for example, Christmas. I'm gonna buy a lot of things for family. And I have this budget, and I say, hey, Amazon's gonna be 5% cash back on $2,000. I have a $2,000 budget. Here it is, right here in my hand. I can buy it on a credit card, get 5% cash back, pay that right away. Boom, everything's done. That is it. But to chase frequent cash back makes no sense. The last time I used a credit card for like cash back purposes was when I was remodeling my home, and it was an accident because I was buying this granite top for the kitchen top or whatever, and it was a lot of money. And I was like, well, I don't have my debit card because I had lost my debit card, so I had to use, for example, my credit card, and I used it, and I got some cash back. I was like, yo, why don't I just spend all this money on this stuff, which is a lot of money for remodeling, and just pay at that same time because the cash is there, so just pay right away. So if you have big expenses, which you already expect to have, and it makes sense to get cash back, great. But to go on a daily basis, swiping left and right with no type of resignation is not a good idea. That's not what I practice, and that's why 99% of the time, I'm paying with a debit card. 1% of the time, I use a credit card whenever something big that I already know I'm gonna spend money on, but only if I have the money on hand to pay it off right away. And when I say right away, I mean I get on there the next day when it goes through, and I'm like, pay right now, and it gets paid right then, okay? Number 2, there are obvious benefits to having a credit card. And one of the main benefits people talk about is basically fraud protection. Now, this is common sense, okay? Here's the thing. Which service is going to offer you better protection? The service that's a debit card and it protects your own money, so the bank not really their money, it's your money. Or for example, the bank's money, because it's credit, so it's their money. Most likely, they're gonna have the most protection, the most leeway, the most investigation when it comes to their money, because that's their money and they wanna get it back. Obviously, right? That's how the whole thing works, right? So yes, in some ways, in some cases, sometimes, for example, depending on the bank, credit cards do offer better fraud protection than a debit card. That makes sense, but I've never had the issue where, you know, God forbid, you know, knock on wood, where I had like my debit card information stolen, and if I do have a transaction I don't recognize, I usually call in and they fix it right away, but it can be very tricky if you don't have enough money in there and then all your money is gone and then you're waiting for them to investigate to get you your money back. I get it. I get that. And I understand that, okay? But you know what I mean? Like maybe don't have all your money on one bank and one, you know, have it separated and so on. So when it comes to my account, like I have a certain amount of money that's actually open for spending, and then most of the money is basically just locked away and not allowed to be spent. So even if they try to do something, like the money cannot be spent because it's locked away and it's separate. Another benefit would be kind of, for example, like travel benefits. Like my favorite benefit of having a credit card is, for example, right now I am in Dominican Republic and I tried this out, right? I bought my debit card here. My debit card lets me take money out at any ATM, like for free, which is cool, but cool benefit. That's SoFi money, by the way. Don't offer that money, like that benefit anymore, because it's like if you had the bank account when it first came out. But the cool thing is, like, I can take money out wherever I want. Now that sounds cool, but the conversion was disgusting. When I spent money on the debit card, it was disgusting because I basically was losing money every time I spent money on the conversion rates. But whenever I use, for example, my Discover credit card, it converts it at a higher rate. So usually I'm saving money. Now that's cool. Now obviously you got to think, right? Why would they give you all these benefits? Because it makes you spend more money, right? And then you can basically spend more. If you don't pay back on time, they charge you. So again, the same rule is I spend the money on the things I know I'm gonna buy and I pay it right away. That's my rule. But the benefits are pretty cool. And then you also get insurance on car rentals. The last time I traveled and got a rental was back, I think it was in Florida, and they forced me to use my credit card. I was like, yo, there's money in the debit card, just use that. No, credit card. So they don't really give you an option depending on where it is. So yeah, they do give you like insurance depending on the credit card, but I would never pay like $100 a year or $500 a year to get these benefits on one of these fancy credit cards, because I just don't spend enough money to justify one of those things. But if I'm traveling all the time and I'm doing all these big things and entertaining people, that's different, right? But I'm not doing that. So why would I pay $500 so I can travel like twice a year, or like maybe buy dinner? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it makes no sense to spend that much money on one of those annual fees. So to me, it's just not rational. So for me, doesn't make sense. Use common sense, okay? Now the third thing is, guys, by the way, yeah, that's basically it for that. Now, by the way, number 3 is build credits. You know, if you use a debit card, tell me you're not going to build credit. That's obvious. But what they don't tell you is you don't need credit. Okay, so let me explain here. When you're gonna buy a house, and by the way, you only need credit when it comes to buying a home, because you can pay cash for a car, which I recommend. You can basically figure out a way to pay cash for school, which is by applying for a lot of scholarships and getting a job and taking it easy step by step. But you don't need to borrow a bunch of money. The only time you really need to like borrow money and you can be justified in it is when it comes to, for example, buying a home, because it's very expensive. Like, who can afford it, right? So when it comes to that, if you don't even have, or getting your first apartment, if you don't even have credit, that's fine, because what they do is they do a manual underwriting. They show, for example, what your income is, your expenses, and they basically just build a profile based on it. So the credit makes it more easy to you just get whatever you want, because there's a number, all the info is there. It's automatic. It's not going to be manual per se, but you don't need it per se, okay? So the way I use my credit card to sustain my credit score, which I don't need for anything right now, and shout out to God for that, but it's basically, I just do the one bill method. And what that means is I put one bill on each credit card. I pay them off in full every single month automatically. And that way I register a payment. Yeah, so my overall account balance is pretty low, which kind of helps my credit score, because those are the 2 most important factors with your credit score: how much money you owe and your payment history. So if you do that, you build credit without the debt. So overall, this is why I say I don't like rules, but to say, for example, like using a credit card every day for these benefits is so cool. The answer is, it's a business, right? And one of the best businesses right now in history is selling people money, because it's so nice. You know, they sell you money, you pay interest, you're in debt, you get stuck there. That's not what you want, but that's where most people get stuck. So overall, I use a debit card 99% of the time, but 1% of the time I use it when it makes sense, when it's like common sense, when it's rational. And the rule is I pay right then and there instantly. All right, that's the deal. That's what you want to look for, okay? But overall, guys, that is it for this video. Comment down below any questions and comment down below credits if you made it all the way to the end. All right. Now I wonder, okay, if you ask Dave Ramsey, Dave has a lot of money, so he might just be like, I don't care. But if you ask Dave Ramsey, Dave, you're gonna spend $100,000. You can get 5% cash back on this thing. What's 5% of 100,000? Is that 5,000, guys? I think it's 5,000. And he's like, yo, would you take that cash back or would you not take that cash back? He'll probably, I don't know what he will say, honestly. He'd probably be like, I'm not interested, because his convictions are so like strong. But I'll be like, it's $5,000. I'm gonna spend the money right there, pay it off right there. What's the big deal, okay? But the thing is, when you play with snakes, you can get bit, and you wanna be very careful. So, yeah, that's it, guys, all right? Up here is another video. Over here's my Facebook subscribe, and as always, long-term team officially out. By the way, make this video the secured credit card video. If you wanna build credit, you're brand new, you're a student, or you just don't have credit, this video is gonna help you out a lot, all right?